What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to PAULY'S. How you doing today? I'm doing outstanding. So I've got myself a 05 GMC Sierra 4-wheel drive with the big 6.6 turbo diesel in her, and we've got oh, let's see what the customer states here. The customer stated that the bottom right button on the steering wheel will not work, and that a new switch was recently installed. So this is the one. This button here will toggle. You know, I'm sure you're all familiar with these, but you know, you can see that the info button here is working. I can scroll through all my options on my info display here. But like, let's say I want to, and this is a big deal for this guy because he plows with this truck, and I'm sure, you know, he wants to change his idle setting. So let me get back to that. So elevated idle off, you can see, and if I want to hit, and if I hit the enter button here, I should be able to switch it to on, and I'm hitting it, and we got nothing. So obviously, we know somebody already tried the, you know, Swaptronics or whatever you want to call it, putting in a switch, and it didn't work. So let me get some scan data up. I'm going to see if I'll find out where the input PID, if there is an input PID. I'd imagine it might be in the instrument cluster module, maybe, but I'll find it on the scan tool. And we'll see what the inputs look like, and kind of go from there. Alright, just for the hell of it, I did run a code scan real quick just to see. You can see the BCM had a history code in there of a B3802 for the park lamps request circuit malfunction. I doubt that's related, but, you know, something to keep in our mind. I'll still document these codes just so I can let the customer know these codes were in there. But okay, back to what I was doing. Okay, guys, so it is under instrument panel cluster. We are going to go into data display, and, you know, most likely we have an open or something, but input, output. If you look right here, data information control personalization, I believe that's what DIC means. Data information cluster, whatever, it doesn't matter. DIC personalization, DIC trip information. So if I hit that info button, the little I, that one is working. We know that. You'll see the input, output. You know, this is basically just telling you, you know, when you hit a button, it's letting you know that, yep, I'm seeing it. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. So this is just kind of help give you some direction. You can see on when I'm hitting it, letting off, on, off, on. So that tells us we have good input, at least for that side of the switch. Now I imagine DIC trip information is going to be the enter button, this one here. So let's try that, and nothing. So just some stuff to kind of show you what you can look at, you know, as far as data. You know, if you want to see if your input's getting there, you know, for example, if like I was hitting this info button and nothing was happening on the actual DIC display, you know, the screen over there, you know, and let's say I'm hitting the I button, which we know is working, but say I was hitting it and nothing was scrolling on the screen, but I was still seeing this data PID change, that tells me that there's obviously something else going on. There's nothing wrong with the switch, so to speak. We obviously have a problem maybe with our cluster. But the fact that, you know, I can see that tells me that the input from this switch to the instrument cluster is being received. So this side of the switch is good. So what we need to do is I'm going to pull up, I'm just going to go straight to a wiring diagram for this, and before we get all crazy and start tearing the steering wheel apart, which we're probably going to end up having to do regardless. But I'm going to pull up a wiring diagram, see how these wires are ran, and then we'll kind of get some direction from there, and you know, I'll take you along and we'll rip this apart and do some testing and find out, you know, where the open is. I suspect that there's either maybe the connection here when they tore this, you know, who knows who put it in. I'd imagine the customer tried doing his own switch or did do his own switch, because they're not that hard to do. I mean, I don't blame the guy. And probably thought, you know, the switch was shorted or whatever, or contacts were bad. Put it in the new switch, and maybe he left something, you know, a connector loose. Who knows? Maybe the wire for this side of the switch is loose in the connector. You know, could be anything. But first thing, pull up a wire diagram. Let's take a look at the circuit, see how it works. All right, guys. So I got me a diagram here for the instrument cluster. It's 2 whopping pages. It looks real complicated, but it's not complicated. But anyways, here is our instrument cluster. Okay, so this is our instrument panel. Trying my best here, guys. So here's the instrument, you know, the instrument cluster. All right, and you can see the one that I've highlighted there in orange. But this is a pretty basic circuit, guys, but I'll run you through it in case some of you are curious and are kind of trying to learn this stuff. But anyways, this is our switch here. You can see it says lower right steering wheel control switch assembly. We've got personalization, which is the little I on the switch, okay? So that's that switch. And then we have select, which of course is this little fella right here. And then this is the one that we're concerned about. So that's the one that you know, we know the personalization switch works. So, you know, no need to make it more complicated than for what it is. But how the switch works, it's real basic. Both switches, both the one on the right side of the steering wheel and the left for fuel info, trip info, which we know this one works. Customer, I already verified it off camera, guys. This one works just fine. Customer's worried about this one. You can see the ones that are in green here coming from the bottom of the switches here come to this splice here, and they come up and over and through. And this right here is our steering wheel module coil, basically like the clock spring. So they're all going to go back through that, obviously. But the green, if you follow it through there, comes out right here into the ground. Now, no need to check the ground here, guys. No need. I shouldn't say no need. No, there really is no need. And the reason being is because the personalization switch works. So that one, if you see, comes out of this switch and it's a shared ground with the select button. So if this one's working, obviously we have a ground. So there's really no need to worry about the ground side at all. I just, for, you know, learning purposes, I'm just showing you how they work. And you can see that this side also shares that same ground. So anyways, what we have, and this tells us two things. Well, this tells us another thing, that this side of the switch, okay, is our power side. All right, and I can tell you right now that this is probably going to be like a 5-volt feed from the instrument cluster, because that's where this wire goes, this orange wire, okay? And this is just going to pull that down, and when it pulls it down, that tells the instrument cluster, hey, go ahead and switch, or go ahead and select what I'm on. When I hit the personalization button and I hit the select button, you know, it's pulling the signal down. So we're going to look for that with the scan tool, or the scope rather. But the first thing I want to do is figure out where I want to go. You know, where's the next easiest place to go? I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think what I'm going to do, no, I am going to do, is I'm going to pull apart, because it's really easy to do on these Chevys. Let me get my light here. Sorry, guys. I'm going to pull the column apart right here, and I'm going to tear those, you know, these two halves and tear them apart, because our clock spring should be right about here. And we can find the connector. We'll back probe it, and we'll see what we got when we're hitting our button. Or correction, what we're going to do is we're gonna be the switch. So we're gonna take a test light, we're gonna hook it to ground, and first we'll check to make sure we got 5 volts coming on this wire right here. Sorry guys, I'm trying to just explain this. So we're gonna check to make sure we got 5 at the restraint wheel control module coil. Okay, at the clock spring. We're gonna check at this connector right there. We're gonna check to make sure we got 5 coming in. If we got 5 coming in, we'll use a test light, hook it to ground. We'll pull up the we'll pull up the what am I trying to say? The 5-volt feed on our scope, and we will pull that down and see if we're able to actually select options on our instrument cluster. So all we're going to be doing is basically bypassing the switch. Now, that doesn't mean that this wire couldn't be open. I mean, it could be, guys, but this is the next easiest thing, I think. Is go here, make sure we got 5 volts, or whatever the voltage is coming from the cluster. If we do, then that tells us a number of things. Either we have an open in our clock spring here, or we have an open in this little harness here, or we have a bad new switch, which is probably unlikely. So let's get to that. Let me get to that first, and then I'll get you guys a shot at what I'm doing. All right? So stand by. All right, guys, this is going to be a quick test, not too complicated. I'm actually going above and beyond here, but that's just for learning purposes. So if we look here, right here, there's our clock spring right there, okay? This is the orange-black wire. If we pull up our diagram here, you can see the orange-black, okay? Now, keep in mind that the orange-black is only orange-black till this connector, so there's another connector under this. This is not the connector, okay? That right there is not the connector. I'm just trying to get as close as I can to the clock spring, so to speak, because I want to make sure that everything from the clock spring from here on up to the DIC, to the actual instrument cluster is good. You can see the wires actually change color, and it turns into an orange wire on its way to the instrument cluster. Okay, so anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we've got our feed, and I had said it was 5 volts, but it's not, it's 12 volts. Doesn't matter, guys. We're going to check our feed, make sure it's there from the instrument cluster. Then we're going to use a test light hooked to ground to pull that signal down and see. Alright guys, sorry I got interrupted by my service manager. I've got to go do an alignment check on this truck, shake it down real quick. So, story of my life, right? Anyways, we'll get back to this. Hopefully I remember where I left off. Alright, well, that was a complete waste of time. People, you have to put... You at least got to make an effort to put the same tires on the vehicle. You can't have 4 different tread designs with, you know, I'm not even going to get into it. Alright, so anyways, I'm on a 20-volt scale on my multimeter here, or on my meter rather, and I'm going to show you, okay, again, we're on the black-white, or the orange-black. That is a 12-volt feed going to the switch, right? So let me hook this up. Alright guys, and we're hooked in. Alright, we're hooked in. And you can see we've got a good, battery's getting low, but 11.15 feed to the switch. Alright, so we know that that's good. Let's just do a quick bypass test quick with our test light. And I'm going to show you how this kind of works. So if I go to home, go to scanner. Now I went back into my instrument cluster and I pulled up these 2 PIDs, DIC select and DIC personalization. This is the info button, the I button. This is the one that isn't working. So test light hooked to ground, okay? We're just gonna touch in here on this guy and pull. You're gonna see the change on here and it's gonna pull it to ground, and this is gonna switch to on, okay? So let me get my test light in there, one-handed. Now it's got to be on for, you know, a short duration in order for the change to actually occur. But I'll show you that. There you go. On, off, touching, on, on. Alright. So that tells us a number of things. And just to show you too, let me show you here. It'll actually change in the dash as well. So we'll hit the info button. We'll go back to his elevated idle PID, or PID option rather. There we go. Elevated idle is off right now. So if I touch this and basically be the switch, and you can see now it's on. Now I'll shut it off, on, oh, on. And I'm just going to shut it back off. Oh, come on, off. Alright, so that tells us a lot. That tells us that everything from the clock spring on this side of it to the instrument cluster and the instrument cluster is good. Now, I could have done that right from the switch, guys. I really could have. I just didn't feel like pulling apart the horn and all that garbage, okay? But which I'm going to end up having to do probably anyways. But no big deal. Learning. But that tells us that our problem is either in the clock spring itself. Either we have an open in here, or we have an open in this orange-black going from the clock spring, the short little running from the clock spring right to the switch, okay? So next step, we're just going to pull a switch out and we'll check it. You know, we could have done that right away. I'm just trying to show you how to test the circuit, guys. Not a big deal. My schedule's not too loaded down, so I had some extra time. I figured, hey, great way to learn, right? So we'll pull the switch and we'll check this connector. And if we're able to do the exact same bypass test from the connector for the switch, that tells us we have a bad switch. Or if we're not, then we need to check, you know, do we have a bad wire here? Is this wire open? Or, you know, do we have a bad clock spring? You know, it's really all it could be. So, and if it doesn't work, if the bypass doesn't work from here, guys, it needs a clock spring. That's as simple as that, all right? So let me get that set up, and then I'll show you that. Oh, and by the way, yes, I will fix that with a little nail polish. Not a big deal. Barely pokes a hole in there, okay? Not too worried about it. So don't freak out. It's fine. The little pinhole I put in that wire is so small. Won't be a big deal, guys. Alright, guys. So I just pulled out the airbag, and we're going to do some quick bypass testing, and we're not even going to use the scan tool for this. What we're going to use is we're going to use the actual display. So let me show you what I got here, or what's going on. Now I imagine they make a steering wheel harness, kind of a sub little, I'm trying to show you the best I can here. Anyways, right here, and lighting in here is horrible, I know, guys, and I apologize for that, but there's the connector, okay? Now if you look, this guy right here, okay, is from the clock spring. The clock spring's behind the steering wheel, okay? There's nothing wrong with the clock spring, but it's in the harness for the steering wheel, okay? So here's the connector for the steering wheel harness. Now, I don't know what the customer is going to want to do. I know it's an open wire in this harness, okay, from the switch connector to here, okay. I'm not going to go any further than that. Most likely we'll probably recommend doing just the harness. I know a lot of guys will be like, well, why don't you find the open wire in the harness? Okay, well, time, guys. It's, you know, is it worth it? We'll check. We'll see how much the harness is. If it's a ridiculous amount of money, then I'll find the open wire and I'll repair it for them. But I'm not going to go any further than the diagnosis, just simply because of time, and you know, I don't even know if the guy is going to want to go that far with it. Maybe it'd be just quicker just to get a harness. You know. But I'm going to let you know in a follow-up video, of course. But what I want to do is I want to finish up this bypass testing to kind of show you guys what you can do here on these Chevys. All right, so, and forgive me, I got the light in my mouth. All right, so what we're going to do is I've already tried being the switch from the switch connector itself, and that it doesn't work, okay? So I know there's an open, but we're just gonna double check our clock spring, okay? So now if you look on the back side of the connector, there is a orange black, and a purple wire there, okay? You see those two? I hope you can see that. Orange, black, and a purple. All right, now, let me get the diagram. And like I said, guys, I'm going overkill on this, I know, but it's more for just learning. So let me find this diagram. Okay. So those are the two wires we were looking at. Now, if you look on here, they're not showing that connector at all, okay? Sometimes they'll do that on Mitchell diagrams. You just got to keep that in mind. Doesn't matter, all right? So the purple and the orange black are the two we're concerned about. This one is the I button. This one is the little, this one, right? The one that's not working. And we know this one's working, but it's this one. So the orange black is the one we're worried about. All right, so we've got our test light hooked to ground. We're just going to bypass test it, and we're going to watch the display, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll to something I want to change. So I want to go to the purple wire first. And the purple, oh my goodness, this is hard to do. All right, the purple is the second one in on the top row. Second one in on the top row. So if you watch the display, I'll get you up here. I'll touch that and I'll scroll through. Basically, I'm being the switch, and I'm going to scroll through the options. And you'll see it change up there once I touch it, if I can get on it. Oh, jeez. All right, there. Okay, ready? Scroll, vehicle settings, idle, elevated idle. Okay, seen it change. I'm going to switch that to on by hitting, just like we were doing on the other side of it. Okay, see that? And what I'm hitting is this one right here, that one. That's the orange black. This is the purple. So the purple's for scroll. So pretty cool. Being the switch. You know, you guys want to learn more about that, go watch some Scannerdanner Premium, man. That guy does a good job of teaching you that stuff. But anyways, clock spring's good. Everything from the clock spring, everything from here all the way to the dash is good. Switch is good, obviously, because it's been replaced, but I know it's good. Not worried about it. We need to find out if the customer wants us to rip this harness out of here and try to repair it, or if it's going to be cheaper just to do a new harness. Either way, I'll make a follow-up video. And, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it's kind of basic, but for you guys that are getting into, you know, understanding how stuff works, it should be kind of helpful. So, thanks for watching, guys, and keep learning. And thank you to everyone who's been supporting me along the way with this. Have a great day.